Long ago, dolls were often handmade with various materials found around the home. One of those materials was corn husks. Today, we're going to make one of your own. To make your own corn husk doll, you will need corn husks that have been soaked in warm water for 5 to 15 minutes. That's so that they are softened and easily pliable. You will need twine, scissors, and something that you can decorate your doll with. In our case, we are using some markers. You will also want a towel laid down or an absorbent surface so that you don't get water everywhere from your corn husk doll. First, you will gather 4 pieces of corn husk. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. It's okay if they're a different size. If you wanted them to be all the same length, you could trim them. We're not going to do that right now. But we are going to make sure that the thinner ends are all together and that they are joined up. Then we're going to tie these with twine. You do want to make sure that this is a nice tight knot so that it doesn't come loose. Next, you're going to hold this end and pull this down, much like you're peeling a banana. This is the first step in making the head for your doll. All right, and you can see if I pinch a little bit right here, we have formed a head. If you don't like the way that looks for the face, you can always sort of mold it a little bit to give you a smoother face or surface. And again, tie a bit of twine. And here too, you want a fairly tight knot. If you think that's too small, you can lower it a little bit, giving her or him a bigger face. It's okay to have these loose bits that are a bit longer. We can clip those down a little bit later. Next, we're going to make the arms. So you'll need 1 more husk. Because one end is thinner than the other, we're going to actually tear this in half. And then we're going to match up the thinner end of one piece to the thicker end of the other, like so, and we're going to roll it together. Kind of rolling it like a worm. So you'll end up with one even bunch so that both ends are the same thickness. Now we need to make the wrists. So taking another piece of twine, going to tie one end, and again, you want this fairly tight. If you wanted, you could make this into a bow, which I think I will do. Or you can just make one nice knot. But I like a bow. It's a tricky bow. All right, and there are my 2 arms. Now I need to attach it to my doll. So I'm going to flip this over, and I have a total of 4 husks. So I can put half on this side, half on this side. This is her face. So I know that that's the direction I need to put my bows for my arms. And just fold it in there nice and tight. So now she has arms. The next thing I need to do to make sure, of course, that my arms don't slide out and to give her a little bit more definition is tie a string around her waist. That'll give her a body and a waist as well. If I wanted, I could be done. She has a head, a body, a waist, and arms. but I don't want her arms sticking out like a scarecrow. So I'm going to pull her arms together and tie them right about at the wrists. So it looks like she has her hands folded together. This does not have to be a tight knot because it's not going to be permanent. This is just so that as she dries, her arms are folded together, so that when she's completely dry, I can untie this and her hands will be at her waist. Now perhaps I don't want this to be wearing a dress. Maybe I do want this to have pants or legs. The next thing I can do is kind of tear a little bit to separate that skirt into two pieces. And now I will tie at the ankles. And I think at the ankles, I will just tie a knot. And this will be permanent. Good and tight. All right. Now, my doll doesn't have anything else on it. Perhaps I want to make a tunic for it, which is something that would be worn crisscross over the body. I can use more of my wet husk. I can tear it into pieces and put it over the top, kind of like a shawl on one side. Then I do the same on the other side. So I've wrapped it around my doll like an X. All right, while it's still wet, I'm going to trim off some of the extra pieces. So I think that her hands are a little bit too long. So I'm going to trim that. I think her feet are a little bit too long as well, so I will trim those. And I'm going to trim any of the extra bits of twine. All right, now all I have to do is wait for it to dry. Once it's dried, we can decorate it a little bit more with things like markers, or if you wanted to glue more twine on for hair, we can do that as well. So we'll set this one aside to dry, and we'll take a look at one of these, which is already dry. Now this one you can see we did not tie the hands down, so they are sticking out. So we did add a little bandana on it, so it looks like a ninja, and it is wearing that tunic. And this again is dry, so we can add something to it like a face. And I'm just using my washable markers. You could use really anything you like. You could tie string on it. You could put yarn on it. You could color the tunic, but there, now we have a happy ninja. Hope you enjoy.